Just Cause 4 is almost here and sees stubbly hero Rico Rodriguez using all manner of vehicles, weaponry and sophisticated gadgets to wage an explosive war against a private army known as the Black Hand. But just because Rico is busy toppling a sinister paramilitary organisation doesn't mean he can't also make valuable contributions to science in his spare time. And luckily, Just Cause 4 gives you even more ludicrous ways to play with the game's physics engine, thanks to a grappling hook that lets you bolt rockets and helium balloons to everything in sight. Here then are 7 valuable physics experiments we did to further scientific understanding, because we care about the betterment of mankind. You're welcome, humanity. For too long, humanity has limped along with 3 basic flavours of vehicle: land vehicles like cars or tractors, sky vehicles like helicopters or planes, and water vehicles like Viking longboats and pedalos. But now, at last, through science, we're on the cusp of perfecting the 4th category. It all begins with a sports car, generously donated to science by this charitable person. Next, powerful air balloons are affixed in a rigorously thought-out pattern, ensuring even lift across the entire vehicle. Finally, our researchers attached a bucket load of rockets and shielded their eyes behind their clipboards, because this is where the science happens, people. A winning result! Take that, James Bond. Plus, in the time-honoured scientific tradition of adding and removing variables, it turns out the balloons aren't even strictly necessary. Indeed, subtracting them from the equation has no negative impact on speed, just, stability. We theorised that this new mode of transport could revolutionise travel. Of course, it's not possible to choose exactly where the vehicle will go, but it goes so fast that it should travel to every conceivable location in a relatively short time. That's just maths. Theme parks are big business, but how are the likes of Disney and Universal supposed to continue delivering world-class entertainment and expensive merchandise without a dedicated R&D department pushing the envelope? That's where engineers like us come in. As luck would have it, our time with Just Cause 4 saw us hanging out on this amusement pier. It's a little run down, admittedly, but the view more than makes up for the possible health and safety risks. Plus, with nobody on the rides, it's a good opportunity to experiment with adding a little extra oomph to each one. Ferris wheels are a classic fairground ride, but boost the speed, and this one can take 4 times as many customers per hour, which is top news for your bottom line. And look, this happy volunteer is clearly loving the new design. And how about a few well-placed rockets on this pirate ship to bring it into the 21st century? Now we're getting into the swing of things. Once again, science helps us learn and play. And finally, why settle for the knackered old mares on this carousel when just a few carefully placed thrusters make all the difference? Look, everyone's running to tell their friends about the best new ride on the boardwalk. That's powerful word-of-mouth advertising. Thank us later, Disney. Or actually, if you could let us borrow your lawyers, because we seem to have misplaced these volunteers' liability waivers. Probably they just got misfiled. Since the first caveman built a trampoline and invented the backflip, humans have dreamed of a life above the ground. And why? Because the view is simply better from up high. Just ask Rico, who is a connoisseur of soaring around far above the ground, somehow without dying immediately of cold or oxygen deprivation. Fine for a human like Rico, but thanks to Just Cause 4, we can easily increase the field of view for some of nature's less proactive creatures. Applying one of Just Cause 4's powerful lifting balloons sees this cow elevated well beyond its usual altitude, to get a better view of grazing spots, and to generally feel superior to its cow brethren. What effect does this change produce on the cow? Well, it's a little hard to see from down here, and we didn't bring binoculars, so we'll have to rule these results inconclusive. Not so, however, for an experiment into the application of thrusters on this deer. From its vantage point pinwheeling helplessly in the sky, our rocket deer can easily spot predators from far away. And when it's time to let the rest of the herd know about a convenient water source, why, these rockets really make a splash. It's going to be hard to retrieve the body for testing. Guess we'll just have to find a new subject. Here, moo cows. In Just Cause 4, you won't be the only thing playing havoc with the forces that govern our physical universe.
Lost contact with enemy.
New to the game are spectacular weather events, including sandstorms and this gigantic tornado.
The Black Hand are redirecting the tornado. They're trying to stop it from reaching the city.
As you'd expect, almost everything that isn't nailed down, and to be honest, almost everything that is, will get sucked into this windy vortex. These tornadoes offer members of the scientific community an opportunity. An opportunity, that is, to find out what happens if you open a parachute in the middle of one? Yikes! See, we'd definitely hypothesized that being near a tornado while strapped to a big flap of canvas designed to catch as much air as possible was a bad idea, but it's great to know for sure. Those with inquisitive minds will have plenty of time to learn more from these tornadoes and will be able to wingsuit all around them, as we're told there's always one to be found somewhere on the map, zipping around trashing the place like a magnetic spinning top in a paperclip factory. For instance, you can enjoy how much more difficult it is to simply walk when this rotating cylinder of windy death is right behind you, trying to tear your soul right from your body, or how it looks when one takes a detour through an airstrip. Honestly, air travel on this island. First you have to take your shoes off when you go through security, and now this. With the farming business always looking to streamline the transportation of cattle and other animal life, it only makes sense to use Just Cause 4's physics sandbox to discover what improvements can be made. For instance, left to their own devices, these layabout cows are almost impossible to herd, and yet by applying some simple physics plus some high tensile cable, the animals can be conveniently grouped for transport. Better yet, having crunched the numbers, it soon becomes clear that Rico's grappling tether could easily be applied to an even greater number of cattle. Next, it's a simple case of attaching several balloons to the lead cow, and the experiment can begin. Have we cracked it? A resounding win for science, all grouped together and ready to go. And on the farm of the future, we're confident livestock will be transported quickly and cleanly to market using precisely this process, with the greatest and safest propulsion method for moving animals. Fire boosters! Yep, it's a safe and environmentally friendly application of physics that never fails. Apart from the odd anomalous result, of course, but that's just the nature of science. You might well ask how the residents of Solis handle life on an island that is also home to a permanent mega-tornado that rips through bridges like a dehydrated marathon runner hitting the finish line ribbon.
¡Ay, qué carajo!
Well, once more, science has the answer. See, the sinister Black Hand mercenary forces have installed these wind cannons that actually blow wind at the tornado, thus keeping the errant weather pattern at bay. You might think that firing air cannons into a tornado to hold it in place isn't a thing that would work scientifically, but meteorologists will tell you it actually all makes perfect sense. Go on, find a meteorologist and ask them. If they look at you silently with pity in their eyes, that's a meteorologist way of saying, correct. Moreover, the gadget-happy residents of Solis have found a way of miniaturizing this powerful wind technology, distilling that tornado-stalling tech into a rifle small enough to sling in a backpack. When we performed these carefully controlled scientific experiments, we found that the scaled-down wind cannon was perfect for relocating vehicles and alpacas. Is your alpaca several hundred feet lower than you'd like it to be? Science has the answer. Plus, to make sure this was a scientifically fair test, we also performed the same experiment on a control group, by which we mean one in which the alpaca was a goat instead. Gotta follow the method, folks. Ask literally anyone what they'd like most in the world and they'll tell you a return to the glory days of blimp-based air travel. Trouble is, blimps, being enormous, slow and highly explosive, they've sort of faded from use. But Just Cause 4 physics allow us to experiment on ways to give the humble blimp a little more power and a tighter turning circle, namely by bolting powerful rockets to its posterior. Amazingly, these rockets, despite spitting out flames, won't cause your blimp to immediately combust into a fiery ball of death. That's the good news. The bad news is they might cause your blimp to crash down to Earth and then scrape along the ground like a giant inflatable squeegee. Still, an altogether more elegant mode of transport. So those are just a few physics experiments we conducted in Just Cause 4 using the toys built into Rico's new improved grappling hook. If you'd like to see some of the moments from this list with a commentary by myself and my co-host Ellen, subscribe and ring that bell because we'll be posting a Just Cause 4 Let's Play later this week. Fair warning, it's mostly just helpless giggling. I mean, come on, look at this. How's anyone supposed to keep a straight face?